Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay. So let us start reading the shlokas. So any Matajis or Prabhujis would like to read the shloka and the translation? You can unmute and let me know. Anybody? Matajis? Prabhujis? Hare Krishna. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu, you are audible.
Okay. Okay, so let me read the shloka. Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anna sambhavaha yagnad bhavati parjanyo yagna karma samudbhavaha. Translation: all living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna, sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duties. Okay, please move to the next shloka, Prabhu. Okay. Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmaksharasamudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yagni pratishthitam. Regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice. Okay, so next one, Prabhu. Evam pravartitham chakram nanuvarthayat tiha yaha aghayo indriya ramo mogham partha sajivati. Translation: my dear Arjuna, one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice, thus established by the Vedas, certainly leads a life full of sin, living only for the satisfaction of the senses. Such a person lives in vain. Okay, so this way will be better. Okay. So, devotees, welcome again to one more session. So here, Krishna is talking about three different shlokas. So what he is trying to say is the very substantial point of how we are living, how we are sustaining our bodies or the existence of our life itself. So he is telling the process of how this happens. So here he is talking about how we get our food grains and from where it starts and what is our responsibility. So definitely, if you look at the shloka 3.14, he's talking about the subsistence of the food grains, and it is produced from the rains. We normally understand that any rain deficit, or if there is lack of rain, we don't even get anything, neither fruits or vegetables or grains. Okay. And how rains are produced? Rains are produced by the performance of yagna, sacrifice. Now, what does this yagna or sacrifice means? So is it something we have to sacrifice a some being or something we have to do? Yes. So there are mentioned in the Vedas that there are certain things which needs to be sacrificed. So generally, in the previous yugas, the things which had to be sacrificed were some of the food grains which are mentioned in the fire sacrifice. Okay. So there would be brahmanas who would chant the mantras, and there would be the grains, ghee, everything would be put in the the yagna or the fire sacrifice, and that smoke which emanates, it will go to the heavenly bodies. So that has been sanctioned, and that is how the devatas or the demigods, they would produce the rains. Okay, so here uh, in the modern, the general people, if I see, they don't have this understanding how it works. Okay, so in the Vedas also it is explained that the devatas, they eat through fire, like how we eat through mouth. There are certain entities which will eat through different means. So one way of sacrificing is through the homa, where they will eat through that. And here yagna, or the sacrifice, the ultimate beneficiary, the personality is the Lord Vishnu. Okay. Yagna Purusha. His another name is Yagna Purusha. Purusha means the enjoyer. So Yagna Purusha means the enjoyer of all the sacrifices in this world. So the real purpose or the real enjoyer is Krishna or Lord Vishnu. So that's why in the Vedas it was recommended in the previous ages that yagna, this fire sacrifice was very, very important. As we know, in Satya Yoga, meditation was important as the Yuga, dharma. So similarly, in Treta Yuga, the fire sacrifice was given prominence. Then Dwapara Yuga, building of big temples, those projects were given prominence. That was the goal of life. Okay, and in Kali Yuga, the dharma becomes the sound vibration. The sound vibration is nothing but chanting of the holy names. Okay, the sound vibration doesn't mean that we will chant anything. So we have to go as per the Shastra or the what is recommended in the scriptures. There are prescribed duties which we have to perform. Based on that, we can get liberated, or we can get to the mode of transcendence, which is beyond these three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. So that will help us cultivate the real knowledge about the Supreme Lord, and from there we can move forward or go beyond these three modes and actually understand what Supreme Lord is. Okay, so this is the process which was been recommended, and actually everybody in Kali Yuga has to follow it. Of course, in Kali Yuga, it is mentioned that this kind of fire sacrifice cannot be performed because of the lack of ingredients and the resources available. Generally, if I have to speak, we cannot do all these fire sacrifice ourselves. The one thing is, we do not have resources. We do not have good brahmanas who can chant the mantras. We do not have accumulation of those resources to sacrifice, and it's just not. I'm talking about the homa or the fire sacrifice. I'm talking about, if you have to do that, it should be done in a big way. And after you do that, there's a pleasing of brahmanas where charity has to be given. A lot of items which have been mentioned, which cannot be done by us. In fact, in those days, during Treta Yuga, after the sacrifice, the brahmanas, the poor were given all the food grains. There was gold, some of the rubies, so many things, clothes, so many things have to be given, cows have to be given as a charity. So these were the things which follow, but we find it difficult to do it in this age. It's very difficult because getting these resources itself is a headache for us. So what the best way was to, uh, as recommended in different Upanishads and different Puranas as well, and even Brahma also recommends that in Kali Yuga, the best sacrifice we can do is to chant the holy names of the Lord, and especially uh, this particular mantra, Hare Krishna mantra. So that's why we refer to that mantra, okay, that mantra, that reference which is given. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Namaiva Kevalam. Kalo nasti, kalo nast eva. So here, this is what is recommended. Um, Gatir Anyata. So Hare Nama. So the Hare Nama is recommended, and it's 3 times it is recommended. So, and there is no other way. Nasteva, Nasteva, there is no other way. And Gatir Anyata. So why this is recommended? Because as I said, there's very difficult situation we are going through, and this will continue. It's not that earlier it was very nice. People did face so many things since the beginning of Kali Yuga, all these turbulences, what the lifestyle is going on, lack of food, lack of rain, this is going on. Now also we see that the summer, or there's excess of heat, and if it rains, there's excess of rain. And many places, if it is winter, it is excess of cold. So because of this, we are not getting or yielding properly the crops. There's no yield properly available. So if there is no yield, there is no proper food available. The quality or the standard is reducing, and the nutritions are going away. And because of the so-called modern technology, we are introducing so many things which is harming ourselves. There are cells in the body which gets changed. So the strength, immunity being reduced. So these are the effects of this age, because the quality or the standard is completely reduced. Everyone is focused on completely sense gratification. So here in the shloka, or the 14th shloka, this is about he says about where the resources are available, and how yajna can be performed because of the prescribed duties. Now we have prescribed duties. I'll come back to that later on. And he talks about the Vedas, because he refers to Vedas. See, Krishna is referring to Vedas directly. Okay. Now he talks about karma, Brahma, Udbhavam. Now, Brahma has many meanings. Brahma doesn't mean that Lord Brahma alone. So, Brahma also means Vedas. Okay. So, there are different references or different meanings to each word in Sanskrit. So, in this shloka, so he says that karma, that means work, is, or the prescribed duties, is from the Vedas. Okay, so he talks about that, and it is Vedas are nothing but the words of the Supreme Lord. So he tells that Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these are the things which we have to do, but unfortunately, if you see around the world, nobody wants to follow this. This is the most difficult thing. People find it, if you have to call them, make them sit, chant. There are so many challenges. There are so many ifs. So why? So many questions arises. If you just simply ask them to chant Hare Krishna mantra. This Maha Mantra is very, very important in Kali Yuga. It's not just for maybe only ISKCON people, or it's just for only for Indians, only for this community. It's not like that. It is universal, and this is recommended for all the living entities. So this prescribed duty is very important for us, but we are not taking it seriously. Of course, our duty is to preach to everyone, irrespective of what religion they are, what community, or what background they come from. Because this mantra is not related to any religion also. The Vedas are not related to any particular religion. Okay, it itself is a particular way of life, which is given by God Himself, okay, by the Supreme Lord Himself. So, based on we refer to Sanatan Dharma because that is how it is referred. Because Sanatan means something eternal and Dharma means religion. So we have in the previous classes also referred that what Dharma means. Dharma means the one which the constituent position which doesn't change. Okay, so that is something which we have to understand. Dharma doesn't mean Hindu, Muslim, or Christian. I'm not talking about that. That is not dharma. That is only the identification of your body. You're identifying your body, naming yourself as Hindus or Muslims by wearing a particular dress. You by wearing a particular name. Having a particular name. So that is something external. You're showcasing yourself. But Sanatan Dharma this Dharma is something which the eternal constituent position which has been there. So our Dharma is to serve the Supreme Lord. Okay. So in the Vedas, it is recommended that this particular yoga, this has to be done. And establishing this, there's a cycle of all these things happening. You do the prescribed duties, you perform the sacrifices, whatever the prescribed duties, and based on that, there is a pleasing of all the devatas and the Supreme Lord, and that's how the rains generate. And from that, there is food grains being generated, and that's how people are living happy. So this is how it is recommended. But now we are so much focused on other things, but our primary duty or goal has become just to satisfy our senses. So it can be anything. When I say satisfying the senses, it can go to any extent. Okay, what we see around the world, you can analyze yourself what this sense gratification is. There are many people. There's a very small amount, or I can say nil. Okay, there's any scope for showing these things in their life. Okay, of course we see there's a people will talk. I sacrifice for you so many things. I sacrifice for my children. I sacrifice for my wife. I sacrifice for my parents. Please understand that is not sacrifice. That is something which, as a family man or as a duty, I have to follow. I'll take one example: the birds. Okay, and there are of course so many animals also, but let me take this example of a bird. Bird, there's a hatching of the egg. So the she bird or the female bird sits on the nest so that the incubation happens, and there's a laying of eggs also. So she has to take care of the chicks. So while these things happen, the male bird, the nesting period, so he goes out and gets all the things which are there, food and supplies everything, the grass and everything. It has to supply. Whatever is lacking, it will take care of these things. So the birds know what their duty is. Natural. It is natural. So if you see for any animal or birds, they understand their duties very nicely. So if we also behave like this, that our duty is only to take care of the family and thinking that these are the sacrifices I've done, so many things. But no, we have done our duty as what a family man has to do. But there's the huge difference between the prescribed duty or the duty I perform and the sacrifice. Okay, sacrifice is something which pleases the Supreme Lord. Animals do not understand, or they do not know who even God is, or they do not even think about that. Their whole and soul goal is, bounded, or they have been programmed to only these four things: eating, mating, sleeping, defending. So we also behave to that extent always. Most of the people, if you see, our life encircles to these four activities only. You can analyze yourself, sit and think about these slokas and see how everybody is encircled. We may introduce, or we may talk about technology, modernization, using all equipments, everything, but everything ends for the purpose of these four things. It will lead to either eating or mating, defending, sleeping. These four categories only I'm talking about. Okay. So there is nothing beyond this. All these things around us, we are seeing, be it a good house or a car, or it can be missiles, or it can be the way food being packed, processing, everything. You can categorize only in four things. Okay. There's nothing beyond this. So the real purpose or the I'm talking about dharma is this yagna, or this sacrifice is to please the Supreme Lord. And how do you please Supreme Lord? In this age, it's very difficult. We cannot see God. Okay, we cannot see even devatas, and we cannot see anything because we are bound, we are conditioned in a certain way. Of course, in previous yugas, the blessings or the way people were given the bodies were different from what we have today. We have a very limited senses, so we cannot see everything. Okay, so the only way was the recommended in Kali Yuga was to do the sacrifice of holy, chanting the holy name. So if you don't do this, there's improper lifestyle which is going to follow. That means materially or while living also I'm not happy, and even after this body I'll not be happy because I have not done my duties. Okay, so there are primary duty and secondary duty. So in the fundamental aspects, the primary duty is to take out the names of the Lord, simultaneously maintain our lifestyle, what we are going through. Okay, such as family life and taking care of children. Those things are there. As a working man, or it can be as a businessman, or it can be an administrator man, so anything. So Lord created based on the three modes, those four classes of men, not on the basis of birth. Okay, be it a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. So this is clearly explaining Bhagavad-gītā by the Lord himself. So based on their activities, the actions what they perform, the emotions they carry, based on that they perform their actions, and based on that, that is how they will be classified, and not by the birth. Okay, so this is what is recommended by Bhagavad-gītā also. People have lack of knowledge. That is one other thing. Okay, because people don't understand what prescribed duty is because they have lack of knowledge. What is lack of knowledge? People think that life is whole and soul only this lifetime and nothing beyond that, because I do not know what past is. I have not experienced it. I cannot recognize it or remember it. So I don't know what future is. So I was born. I'm aware of things right now. So I'm going to enjoy it. Okay. So they are not bothered about what the effects are, what it is going to be. And the Shastras is very nicely explained. So it talks about crime and sin. Okay, there are two things: crime and sin. Please remember this. Crime is something legally wrong. Okay, for example, we have a signal. Okay, traffic signal, and somebody jumps the signal. So you have been fined. You have to pay the penalty. So we understand that is legally wrong. Okay, so this law doesn't apply to an animal. A dog can cross when it is a red light, and the police will not catch the dog because the dog doesn't have the sense or doesn't understand that. Only the humans understand that the laws being created by the state government. Okay, so crime is something legally wrong, whereas sin is something which you're morally wrong or scripturally wrong. Okay, so that effect we are not seeing. Okay, we think that okay, I did something which is morally wrong, okay, to other people, so I don't see any effect, so how does it matter? Okay, people have this mentality. Okay, I don't see any reaction. I don't see any future how it will be, so why should I believe in this? So just be happy and merry. This is the mentality many people are living. That's why because of this lack of knowledge, people are forgetting, why I should chant, why I should do this sacrifice, why this religion, why worship. if everything, I'm studying nicely, I'm getting good marks, I'm going to a nice job. So I work hard, I do a lot of projects. So I have a lot of contacts. So because of the hard work, I'm getting this money. So with that money, I'm able to enjoy so much. So this is how people living in high societies or anything, be it right from the, someone in the road working, or be it in a very nice AC office, or be it ministers. So people have this, perception in their mind that this is how things work. But it is totally wrong, because the laws of nature are so strong. You may not see that effect now, but you will see that in the next life. But the problem is we do not believe in the next life itself. Still, in front of our eyes, there are so many lives which has been created every now and then. So many living entities are being born. There, so many people are getting born. They are suffering. Okay, somebody is enjoying nicely, though they are not credited for that. So those things are happening, but still we live in this ignorance, forgetting the real purpose. This is what is happening in our life. So these three shlokas are very, very important, where Krishna talks about how, end of the day, food is the subsistence. We may have very nice gadgets, we may have very nice buildings. Tomorrow, the food stops, you cannot sit and eat these gadgets and, break down the building and eat. The main subsistence is the food itself. How does the elephant get its food? Elephant is somewhere in the forest, and it almost eats 1 ton in a day. Okay, some elephants in Africa, they almost eat thousands of kilos. Okay, so that much capacity they have. They keep on eating. They can break down the entire tree. Now, who's supplying? Are they going to the factory? Are they manufacturing some technologies to get these food? No, the nature is providing, the Supreme Lord has provided them everything. The birds, the bees, even if you go to Antarctica also, there are so many living entities and they are getting their type of food. So every body, the material body or the living entities, they are getting their food and their requirements, and the Lord has supplied them. But as a human being, we are forgetting our real purpose of life, and we are also behaving such a way. And we are, yeah, out to be destroying the world itself. So that is why we are, experiencing all these things. It's not just, you may call about global warming, you may call about excessive heat, all that. We are creating these problems. We have created our environment, and we are suffering, and we are also making others also suffer, other living entities also suffer. This is the daily story which is happening. Now we talk about excessive heat because it's summer. Next we'll talk about excessive rains, floods, everything. That time we'll have these examples only. Then we'll talk about excessive cold and everything, people suffering. So this is continuously happening. It's not just one time. Only in 2024 we'll have excessive heat and this. No, this is a continuous effect which is showing, because we are day by day building so much of karma. There are three types of karma. So there's this anartha which is happening. Anartha means unwanted results which we are seeing, unwanted desires which is arising. So we are going through this. So we have to be blamed ourselves, because we have not taken or understood the purpose of life properly. We are always behind gratifying or enjoying our senses. So we have to suffer for that. This world is meant to be like that. Okay, so these classes, it's not just pessimistic, in a negative way, but it's a realization. Okay, people think that when we, attend Bhagavad-gītā classes in ISKCON, they're always pessimistic or negative in nature. No, I'm not talking about that. This is the reality. This is the naked truth of what we are going through. You can never be happy, for even a moment. Okay, so this is how the life is. So the mind has to be controlled in terms of sense gratification, and it has to be as per the prescribed duties and the scriptures which is mentioned. Else we will create hellish conditions around us. Like Lord Kapila tells, Devahuti, that though being on earthly planets, there are hellish situations. So that we are creating ourselves. So I end my class here. Of course, it can go beyond this, but we have to understand these main points which I mentioned about. So as much as possible, please remain in the platform of devotional service. Okay, so always remember the Lord, chant, thank Him, and the more we use our sacrificial, elements which have been given, the tongue and the ear. These are the main, factors which we can do a sacrifice in Kali Yuga. So we have to be thankful that we got this opportunity to read and chant, and we can remember Him. So this is always beneficial. So I end my class here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, all the devotees.